Hello, and welcome back. I am very excited to be back. I took a couple weeks off, and some of you might have not even noticed, but for me, it was a really big deal. I am really trying to lead, just not my business, but lead myself in a new way, in a way that feels good and where my needs are actually being met. And I think any business owner or just leader, CEO, anyone in a position of there's a lot of weight on their shoulders, it could be so easy to just keep pushing ourselves. There is so much we need to be accomplishing, and yet we somehow start compromising. We know we need to take a break. We need to slow down. We need to go to bed at a decent hour. But there's so much pressure to accomplish so much and be something for so many people that we start putting ourselves second. And I'm really trying to not do that anymore. And I noticed I was kind of getting closer to reaching that point, and I knew I just needed to take a break. My clients are so important to me, and I don't want them to be not getting my full version of me. I want to be able to show up to them in a powerful way so they get served powerfully. And I started seeing myself burning out a little bit. I was trying to do way too much, and I just needed to take a break, refresh a little bit. I needed to just get some new projects done that I've been working on, and so then I could come back here full of energy and really ready to talk to you, share what's going on. And I think for me personally, it's very difficult to do that. I have been deeply conditioned to go, and push myself. Yes, I'm tired, but just keep going. You'll get that nap later. The weekend is almost here. You could do it. Keep pushing yourself. And I'm just tired of doing that. And I've been slowly over the past year or two trying to decondition myself from that way of thinking that I always have to be productive, always doing something productive. I can't just rest. And I've physically seen my body hates that, and I'm trying to get ahead of that. Like I've mentioned before, I bulged a disc in my back because I ignored myself so much. My body was telling me to slow down, and I just said, F it. I don't want to. I have too much to do, and my body rebelled. And I do not want to get back to that place. I do not wish that on anyone. And so I really want to share with you the trials and tribulations of leading in a new way that might look completely different from what you're taught. And really what I want to talk about today is compromise, because I think that is the trap I personally get into a lot. And I think every time you compromise, it's subconsciously telling yourself your needs don't matter. Even if they're really small, it starts adding up. And I think that's the pattern I started seeing myself in. And me personally, I've been working with a coach, and compromise came up a lot. And it's knowing the difference between actually compromising your needs and just realizing, no, that's not for me. And a big part of that is understanding what compromise even looks like. In the human design side of it, I started getting more into understanding compromise because when you get into the different gates of human design, my unconscious earth gate is gate 14, and it's all about compromise. And so for me, being unconscious, that means that that energy is not something that I am fully aware of, but it's an energy that other people that know me really well see within me. And living your purpose is not something you necessarily go and do. It's more of something that you just are. Just you being your authentic self allows your purpose to shine through and live your purpose. So my unconscious earth being the gate 14, that means the shadow of it is compromise. And the gift of this gate being competence, that means that I cannot be my full, my best, my most powerful self if I am compromising all the time. And so working with this coach, she highlighted that I have been compromising. And we got into a really fun discussion, and that's why I want to bring it to you today and why compromise is so unbelievably powerful. Compromise could feel so harmless at first. It might be a little, I should just do this. a little, I'll just settle here. I don't want to ruffle any feathers. It could even come down to, I think back to my last relationship, compromising like, oh, we could just eat wherever you want to eat. It was just easier to say that versus me trying to figure out what I actually wanted. But every time I said, I'll just do whatever you want to do, I was telling myself my needs don't matter. And that might seem harmless. Again, like, I'm not necessarily a foodie, so yeah, we could just eat wherever you want to eat. I'm not picky. But at the same time, I need to really be grounded in, do I really not care? Or is there something kind of brewing? Like, well, actually, I kind of rather go get pizza, but yeah, we could go get Chinese if that's just what you want. And I'm compromising and not speaking up for myself. That disempowers me. And again, some of these compromises might seem small. Saying yes to a team member, saying, oh yeah, I'll just send that email. Where deep down you're going, shit, I am tired. I don't really want to do that. But yeah, it'll just be easier if I just do it versus just saying, no, can you send it? It's these little bits and pieces of compromising that really get you down. And it's hard to break free from because you might not realize you're doing it first off. It might seem harmless. But at the same time, if you've been making compromises for, I don't want to say months, because I think most of us have been making compromises for years or even decades. And every time you make that compromise, it's creating this habit that slowly zaps your spirit, your enthusiasm, and your ability to excel and just be your powerful, true self. And the more I dug into this, it really helped me understand just what I'm doing in my business and where I'm compromising and why I keep burning out. But it also kind of brought me back to what I'm here to do, like what my business is about. The way I like to think about what I do in my business is thinking back to those times when you were a kid. You were just carefree on the playground. You would go to preschool and play with your toys. You would go paint. You would do whatever came to your mind first. You might get to kindergarten and through grade school and you're just kind of being your carefree self. I want to go ride on the swings. I want to go play soccer. I want to go do this, that, and the other. And you didn't really give much thought to what would people think? What would my friends say? I don't want to be judged. I can't do that. You just did it. You dreamed big. You know, it's a question. It's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you just said whatever sparked your interest without thinking, well, I want to be a ballerina, but wow, that's really hard. They don't get paid a lot. It's really hard on your body. Or I want to be an astronaut or a movie star or a sports legend. You just said it without thinking of all the work it would take to get there. Would your parents approve? You just said it. But as you grew older, we started getting conditioned. And we started getting glimpses of what was wrong with us. And maybe it was not actually wrong with us, but it's those glimpses of don't be too loud. And you suddenly think, okay, I can't be loud. Even though you didn't think you were being loud, you were a kid out on the playground screaming and having fun, but someone tells you you're too loud and you internalize that. And you being that fun, joyful kid starts getting diminished. You started getting restraints on what you could and could not do. You learned that, hey, I got to finish homework first before I could go have fun. And then being told that by teachers and through high school. And by the time you get to college, you always think, well, I got to study and be successful before I could go have fun. And of course, there is some truth to that. You can't just always have fun when you're trying to get a degree or study for a test. It's all about balance. But the problem is you slowly have all these compromises, this conditioning of how you should and shouldn't be, and you start to lose your spark of what made you you. You're not as your authentic self anymore. And it starts teaching you that work is something you just grind through. We have to be a certain way to be successful, to be liked. Because if we're not liked, if you go back to like our hunter-gatherer days, if we don't fit in, we'll be kicked out of the tribe, and then we'll struggle to survive and maybe get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. So it all comes back to this feeling of what it is to be human. And it is, you want to be liked, loved, accepted, so you could stay part of a tribe and be successful. And so when we have these little compromises of, I have to go finish my work first before I take a break, before I take a vacation, without considering what you need and speaking up for your needs, we learn to compromise. So the more that we get conditioned, we subconsciously are starting to compromise on what we deeply need. There are some of us out there that are just naturally loud people. We have so much energy and so much enthusiasm. You don't necessarily think when you're being loud, you're just having a good time. But the more and more that someone tells you, be quiet, you're too loud, you're compromising what you need, and that is to express yourself. So we start tucking away and hiding that enthusiasm because it doesn't fit the system. And by the time we're adults, and this really comes up as business owners where you're just on the spot, everyone is looking at you, you've been conditioned that compromise is responsible and practical. To be a strong leader, you need to suppress your true authentic expression and be this reliable, responsible, practical leader. But what I've learned, and I've done a lot of reading on Richard Rudd's Gene Keys, is where this is specifically coming from, that prosperity will never be reached when there's compromise. Every time you compromise, it pulls you farther and farther away from your prosperity, from your purpose that will leave you deeply fulfilled. Because prosperity is a byproduct of doing the work that you're actually born to do. Prosperity does not come from you just being another cog in the machine, compromising to fit in to this mold. So I know from my gate 14 how important it is to be aware of where I'm compromising, because it pulls me farther away from my innate power skills. And so it's really important just to know about yourself in those little nuances. But in this greater conversation, I truly believe the more that you compromise, the farther away you will get from success. And as a caveat, I do know there are some things you have to compromise. It cannot always be about you and your needs, and especially in relationships. There's always some kind of compromise, but it's also about stating what you need, actually verbalizing what you need. It tells your body, I have expressed what I need, and yes, that might not be fulfilled, but at least I said it. I stood up for myself in a sense. In a way, every time you compromise, you're not standing up for yourself when you don't verbalize what you need. And when you compromise, it's essentially just leaking your energy. Like I said, it brings you farther away from what you're here to do because you keep leaking your energy. You're saying, I don't matter. And again, this isn't something you consciously do. You might be working hard. You might be proving yourself. You might be hustling to reach success. But what's going to happen when you reach that success? If you keep compromising every step away to get there, you're going to be left feeling empty. Again, this kind of ties back to my deep belief of it's all about enjoying the journey. It's not the end goal necessarily, but it's enjoying yourself along the way, making that time to enjoy the present moment. So it doesn't go by in a blur, and 10 years from now, you're like, what did I do? Or it could even lead to regrets. Well, I didn't get that vacation I always wanted, but one day it's like, well, no, why not just have it now? Because true power, where your authenticity really thrives, is not by proving yourself. It's just being yourself. The more that you're being yourself, the more that you allow your voice to be heard, to allow your needs to be fulfilled, to fill your cup, the more powerful you will be. It's when you're saying no to something that you don't want to do and actually say, I matter too. It's preventing yourself from cutting yourself off from receiving more, from not allowing yourself to have that creative spark, because the more lit up and leading from a place of joy, the more that you're able to accomplish. And what's sneaky about compromise is that it doesn't always show up as these big life decisions. I really want to emphasize compromise is not like saying, I'm not going to go on that vacation because I need to stay at work. I mean, yes, that is a compromise, but a lot of the compromises that I'm talking about are subconscious or so minor, you don't really even process that you're compromising. They show up in those little daily things. You keep clients that you don't enjoy working with because you feel too bad letting them go. Or maybe you keep pushing offers and products and services because you think you should be offering them when in reality you really hate what you're doing. Or maybe it's the way that you fill your schedule to the brink, which leaves you no time for a lunch break, no time to take an early Friday, no time to at least just breathe and process what the hell you've been doing all day. You're so back to back to back. And every one of these little things is a compromise. Yes, you might need a full schedule to accomplish what you need to do because there's people relying on you. But that's also telling yourself your needs don't matter. Yes, I could eat at my desk and work as I go, but imagine how your body will feel if you didn't compromise that and you actually give yourself 5 minutes to just breathe, relax, maybe scroll a little, do something that will really fill your cup because you're saying, I matter. I didn't compromise. So I really want you to ask yourself, where are you compromising? What's that one thing that you keep saying yes to, but your spirit in your gut is screaming no? And then once you recognize something that you've been compromising, what's something that you could shift so you stop compromising and you choose to do the thing that actually brings you joy? And again, all of this I bring up because it's so powerful in leadership to make sure your needs are being filled first. The one thing that is universal to any leader, no matter your industry, your position, your title, is that you show up as your most empowering, impactful self. And the only way you could do that is when you don't compromise. When you allow yourself to recognize, I matter, and do something about that. Take time for yourself. Go for lunch at the cafe down the street. Go for a 5-minute walk around the block. Anything that could fill your cup. And stop compromising what you need. This is something that will not be necessarily easy, but the more you practice, the more that you allow yourself to be seen, to state what you need, the more powerful you will believe in yourself. I really believe that so many of us compromise based on what we think we should be doing, what we've been told we need to do, what we need to do to impress the investors, what we need to do to impress our parents. And we've lost sight of what we actually want. What do I want, and how is that contrasting to where I'm compromising? Do I really want to take that week off at Christmas time? Yet I'm compromising by already filling my schedule 2 months out? Why don't you make plans for the future? Put it on your calendar. I think that's one of the easiest ways to stop compromising, like vacations or time to yourself, is by just scheduling it on your calendar. If you need a lunch break, put it on your calendar literally every single day for the next year. That means there will be no way someone could overbook that because it's already in your calendar. Again, it's these little things that we compromise on all the time that really get us. So just tune in. I mean, take 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be a long time, but just kind of analyze your day. Where did I compromise? I know for me personally today, I compromised because I did not go on my daily walk. I decided I had too many emails to go through. And right now I am beating myself up with that because did those emails need to be answered? No. Did I need my fresh air and just something to kind of liven me up today? Yes, those walks are so powerful. I love my daily walks. But because I compromised, I just feel a little off. And that kind of overflows through my whole day. And yes, in the moment, it didn't feel like a big deal. I didn't go for the walk. Okay, tomorrow I'll go. In a way, yes, it's not a big deal. Compromising one time will not kill me. But it's if I keep noticing a pattern where tomorrow I go, oh, well, no, I got other things to do. I can't go for my walk again. And you keep piling and piling it and make it a habit. And yes, that's a problem. So my whole point is that pay attention to where you're compromising. Because that life where you thrive, where you are overflowing with abundance, doesn't come from playing the rules of what you should be doing or playing it safe. It comes from refusing to compromise on the things that matter most. What really matters for you, and make those non-negotiables. Yes, it feels so selfish. It could be so hard, especially I think back to my childhood. I was taught to just go, go, go. I saw my parents constantly working and not taking the rest they needed. So that is so ingrained in me that I constantly have to be productive. But I also know that when I take that time to fill my cup, to do what matters to me, to nourish my body with food, with rest, with presence, that allows me to show up so much more powerful in the work I want to do. I could serve so much better. I could be more energetic and think clearer, or just overall just have this air of joy around me. It attracts people. People want to follow those that are caring for themselves. They want to follow those people that are lit up from inside. When you're walking around drained all the time, people are going to feel that. They're going to know that. So my invitation to you is to start noticing where you've been settling. Call it out. Notice it. Write it down. Acknowledge it. It doesn't matter big or small. Again, these compromises could be very small. But every small compromise adds up. So anywhere you can make a small shift and stop compromising, it will matter. And pick one thing that you've been compromising on and find where you can make a shift to do something that actually excites you, to show yourself that you matter. Because the more that you show that you matter, the more that your power will be shown. And that is where your prosperity begins. Thank you for being here and listening. And I appreciate all my listeners. I know I took a couple weeks off, and that was just personally hard. I know it's not a big deal, but just for me, it was a big thing. And I really want to celebrate myself for doing that. And to all of you that come here and listen to me talk, please share this with someone that you feel needs to hear it. And please subscribe, leave a review. It would mean the world to me. Until next time, keep rebelling, keep rising.